Kang was framed. If you've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm sure you have because this thing made a lot of money, and this is a spoiler-filled video, so I don't know why you're watching if you haven't seen it. But if you have seen Ant-Man Quantumania, you know that Kang was the villain. But was Kang really a villain? Or did the Council of Kangs frame him? And before he got a chance to explain himself, Janet Van Dyne went full Karen on him, and therefore we've been framing Kang as a villain this entire time. I think Kang was framed, and Kang ultimately was the good guy of Quantumania and was trying to save the multiverse from the Council of Kang. What we know about Kang is he was exiled to the quantum realm by the Council of Kangs. All the other Kangs throughout the multiverse, or all the other Nathaniel Richards, seeing as that's Kang's real name, they all came together and formed this Council of Kang. Every last one of them throughout the multiverse. From that council, they banned him to the quantum realm. Before they exiled him to the quantum realm, if you saw the movie, you probably saw the end credits too, and you saw Loki ties into this. In the season finale of the Loki TV show, we find out about He Who Remains, another version of Kang that exists in the multiverse. He Who Remains created the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, and they go around the multiverse, or more specifically the sacred timeline, eliminating different variants. And what we know from the He Who Remains story is there was a global multiversal war. He Who Remains ultimately won that war and created the sacred timeline, the timeline in which we've been following through from Iron Man 1 all the way to now. And we know in that sacred timeline, He Who Remains is the one that keeps everything in check. Time Variance Authority is a dictatorship, and He Who Remains rules the sacred multiverse with an iron fist. At the end of Loki, when Loki's variant Sylvie kills Who He Remains, that causes all the other Kangs to go free, and upon that freedom, we know that those Kangs betrayed Kang the Conqueror, and with Kang trapped in the quantum realm, they were free to wreak havoc throughout the multiverse. We see in Kang's story in Ant-Man Quantumania that Kang also explained that there was a multiversal war, and he was going from universe to universe, killing different variants of Kang, killing different versions of himself, not necessarily trying to destroy the multiverse, but Kang says he saw what comes at the end of time. He was there at the end of everything. You know who else was there at the end of everything? He Who Remains. And He Who Remains decided he had to control the timeline, and Kang is deciding the same thing. He has to control the timeline. That puts two of the Kangs that we've had some time with are trying their own versions of protecting the multiverse from the other Kangs. What we saw of the other Kangs in that brief end credit scene was the fact that those Kangs were wild savages, and they were ran by a Scarlet Centurion, Rema Tut, and Immortus. Those three Kangs said that the Avengers are getting too powerful and more people are able to tap into the timelines and the multiverse, and something has to be done about that, thus creating the Kang Dynasty, ultimately the end game of this phase of Marvel. All these Marvel movies are leading up to a confrontation with the Council of Kangs. But what does that have to do with Kang the Conqueror? In both Loki and Quantumania, we know that the Kangs go around the multiverse conquering each other, creating different timelines, and generally wreaking havoc throughout the multiverse. So when Kang from Quantumania decided that his job was to save the multiverse from his variants, and doing that caused them to fight Avengers along the way, and Madog killed a few Avengers, but that's because the different Kangs all spin different stories. The fact that Kang the Conqueror from Ant-Man Quantumania was willing to bring Janet Van Dyne home and leave her universe alone because she helped him shows that he's not an evil being. He's not doing this out of some form of evil maliciousness, but his other variants must be stopped. Even at the end of Ant-Man, Scott thinks about it for a second. What if killing Kang is what releases greater chaos? Because we know all the other Kangs were afraid of Kang the Conqueror, and they were afraid to make a move so long as Kang was alive, and he was essentially a nuclear deterrent saving the multiverse from his variants. Him and He Who Remains, who I think ultimately is a villain, because ultimately he was the one who created the TVA, he created his own timeline, he was the ultimate dictator throughout the multiverse. A bigger threat than Thanos, a bigger threat than anything we've ever seen before, and yet we're supposed to believe he is the good guy while he trapped thousands, if not millions, if not infinite amounts of Kangs and different variants of himself in an alternate timeline, while Kang the Conqueror was trying to purge these variants of himself. He was trying to rid the universe of the problem of Kang. Because so long as Nathaniel Richards exists in the multiverse, different variations of them, they're always going to fuck with the timeline, and ultimately they're always going to cause havoc. So was Kang the Conqueror a bad guy? No. He was actually the good guy trying to save the multiverse. I mean, were his methods questionable? I mean, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, right? However, he was unable to explain this properly in Ant-Man Quantumania because Janet Van Dyne didn't give him the chance to. She actually went full Karen, didn't listen to my guy, and ultimately started rebelling against Kang before even figuring out what was going on. He offered to explain to her. He offered an olive branch to all the good guys throughout the movie to explain his side of the story. And looking at it from Kang's perspective, it's gotta be frustrating. If I know what happens at the end of time, I've seen all this play out, just shut the fuck up and listen to me for 2 seconds as I explain to you guys what I'm trying to do. However, instead of doing that, they attack him and they kill him. But I don't think Kang is dead, just like I don't think He Who Remains is dead. Because when you're operating on a multiversal scale and you know the weight of the multiverse is on your shoulders, you can't let Ant-Man kill you, can you? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And guys, did you think Ant-Man Quantumania was any good? And ultimately, do you think Kang is a good guy or was Kang misunderstood? I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, binge on.